This condo is in Yorkville in Toronto, and our clients moved here from further uptown where they were in more of a quiet neighborhood, and they really wanted the opportunity to try out living in the midst of the hustle and bustle, kind of a walking type community. Because they weren't sure if they actually wanted to live in such a sort of downtown type of neighborhood, they opted to rent first. They sold their previous condo, decided to rent, truly test it out, and then decide what they were going to do from there. They loved the place. They really put a lot of effort into making this condo their own, despite it being a rental. The main space is an open concept living room, dining room, kitchen. We didn't touch the kitchen, we didn't touch the bathrooms in the condo because they were already fully outfitted. So our focus was on the decoration. They wanted to feel like they had a space that they could have another couple or two couples in to have drinks, have dinner. So having a seating area that was comfortable for the two of them to hang out and watch TV or read, but also that they could very easily entertain in. And so we had a custom sofa made. The frame is in two pieces so that we could very easily get it in, very easily get it out when they do move. It is a standard size, it's an 8-foot long sofa, so it's gonna fit in their next home very easily, and it's really comfortable for them here. And then we paired that with some chairs, and we did a custom cabinet below the television so that they could house all of their media equipment. But again, it's a fairly elegant cabinet that they can take to the next place, and if it's not a media cabinet, it could just be a credenza in a living room. Part of the challenge in condo living can often be the lighting is not in particularly intuitive locations, or there's not enough of it. So in this living room, what we did is we brought in a floor lamp in the far corner, and then we actually added a wall sconce, but it's a plug-in wall sconce behind the sofa. And that was a great choice for two reasons. First of all, we were not going to get into rewiring electrical in this condo because it's a rental, but also a plug-in means it's very easy for them to take that with them when they move on to their next space. We did a lot of custom pieces. The side table by the sofa, we wanted something that was an interesting piece, a simple piece, a large piece, because they had the pig who lives under it, and we needed a special home for him. Similarly, the ottoman, they didn't want a coffee table. They like to put their feet up when they're watching TV. But I also believe that when you put an ottoman in front of a sofa, you need to have some surface. You can put a drink on it. So we had a tray made for that, but we actually purchased the ottoman and then we had it recovered because it was a great opportunity to very simply bring in a hit of color and just put our own stamp on a piece of off-the-shelf furniture. The dining space, because it's between the kitchen and the living room and it's all one big room, we purposely did two separate rugs because it creates zones. So it creates this sense of this is the dining space, this is the living space, even though they're right next to each other. But it helps tie the space together by having matching rugs. The dining table we purchased from LT. It's a pretty square space, so a round table was the perfect configuration because it allows for 4 people very comfortably around it, but they could easily fit up to 6 people if they needed to. And then paired with some really great chairs from CV2, which are light and bright. And then the last thing, which is really the feature in the dining room, is the light fixture. We were lucky here that the existing pendant light was in more or less the correct location. It makes a statement, but it's still a very soft looking fixture, and it really is beautiful when it's on and just creates this lovely glow. Another example of how we problem solved a bad lighting layout in this condo is in the kitchen. The electrical box for the light fixture that's supposed to go over the island is in the most ridiculous location. And so our solution was to find a linear pendant so that it can stretch to cover across the island that has 2 mounting spots versus a fixture that has a center canopy. And that allowed us to pull the light across and mount it further away so that the actual fixture is centered over the island. Anne's space is just adjacent to the dining room, and we really wanted to personalize it and make it this little sort of gem in the space. So we did that by picking a really fun, colorful wallpaper, the Scalamandre zebras. And then we had a custom desk made that is a removable piece of furniture. It looks built in, but it's not, and a very elegant finish. So she's got a really hardworking niche for herself to spend time in, but it also looks beautiful as part of the main living space. Our clients have a love of fairly classic motifs and are both huge fans of like British decoration, which tends to be much more colorful and more maximalist than what we do here. And so we really wanted to come up with a mural style wallpaper for the bed wall to really create a focal point. I think it does a really wonderful job of just creating a very dramatic backdrop to the bed wall in a very cheerful, welcoming, kind of fun, playful way. And then we layered in front of that a custom bed in a really soft upholstered velvet. And then the bedside tables and some really beautiful sculptural lamps for just a nicely polished elevation on that wall. I think a lot of people, when they rent an apartment or a condo, worry about how much effort to put into the decorating of that space. Wallpaper may seem like a scary sort of investment for people. For us, it was a way of really infusing personality and color into a relatively small space. And they ultimately decided to go with the strippable paper because the work to deal with taking that off was not going to be a lot more than just repainting the walls. We also were really strategic about how much wallpaper we used. So we really used it as a feature wall. Anne's office, it's one wall. In the bedroom, the headboard wall has been wallpapered. And then you'll see in Greg's office that we wallpapered the ceiling there. So it's a single surface. We're not getting into having to rework a whole room. So that was a way of really limiting the investment, but still having the impact. Greg has a love of all things British and British culture. He comes from a British family, and so he collects paraphernalia. And a very important part of the brief for this project was to give him a space that was his, that he could display as much or as little as he wanted. And so that's what his office/den does. It's full of his collectibles, it's full of artwork and prints that he's collected, it's full of books that mean a lot to him. We've sourced a really elegant, classic wood and brass shelving unit that has lots of open shelves so that he can display all of his stuff. And it's just a space that brings him joy when he walks into it, and that's what it's all about. I was actually chatting with Anne the other day and just asking, how are you guys liking the neighborhood? They've been here for a few years now, and they are absolutely A, in love with the neighborhood, B, they love the condo and have plans to stay here for a while. It's hilarious. I came in and it looks exactly like it did the day we left. I mean, they've done an immaculate job of keeping it well organized and tidy and clean and really honoring all of the details that were put into it. There's so many details in this space that were just very carefully thought through by our team and very, very personal to them. And so it was an incredibly rewarding experience.